Happy holidays, everybody. I hope everyone has enjoyed their Christmas or their Hanukkah or enjoying the start of Kwanzaa or for any other holiday that you celebrate. As well as I hope you all are staying warm. I know I was trying to stay warm from that Arctic blast that went through last week. We didn't lose power, we didn't lose any heat or anything, but it's still just an inconvenience overall. That all being said, I'm probably the last one to be reporting on this, but I still want to give my input on Peyton Bowen, the five-star safety out of Denton, Texas, having a wild recruitment and finally signing the dotted line to go play for the University of Oklahoma. So I want to kind of just like recap the entire Peyton Bowen situation and kind of like where we go to from there. Obviously, again, if you did not see the news a couple days ago, Peyton Bowen officially flipped from when he first committed to Notre Dame, then to Oregon on signing day, and then finally to us at OU. If you would have asked me though that Wednesday, if Peyton Bowen was still in the cards after he had that surprise flip uh, to Oregon, I would have told you no. I would have said everything's done. It's that just does not happen. Well, apparently in this case it does happen, and Brent Venables finally gets a big win. But let's recap this timeline. So, for those of you who didn't know, again, Bowen is a five-star, potentially a generational talent. He's just that good. Out of Denton, Texas. A lot of us wanted David Hicks, but you can find someone to replace David Hicks. Peyton Bowen would be a face of a program, a linchpin in a team like this. So getting him was like an utmost priority. Earlier in the year, Peyton Bowen announced though that he was going to commit to Notre Dame because of his parents. However, since pretty much that commitment, OU has been hot on his heels to try to recruit him, as he again would be one of those cornerstones of the program. The biggest thing to keep in mind, though, with Peyton Bowen is he really didn't talk about his recruitment at all. He was pretty silent throughout the entire process, which to recruiting sites and to everybody around drove them up the wall because you have this big five-star and he hasn't said anything like you need content. But that all being said, it became pretty clear that he was going to announce probably on early signing day and maybe even sign at that point of where he was going to go. Everyone had a suspicion that Notre Dame and OU were in the running for it because uh, rumor was that, and obviously it's confirmed, his girlfriend is a soccer player on the OU team with it, despite his mom wanting him to go to Notre Dame. It always seemed like it boiled down to Notre Dame and Oklahoma at that point. OU faithful, however, about I think it was about a month ago, thought we hit a Hail Mary when the signs and the stars started to align. When people who are obsessed with like student lists, like looking at who's enrolled and everything, kind of similar to the people who are obsessed with flight trackers and coaches and recruits, found that Peyton Bowen had enrolled at OU. Now, that all being said, we took that as there was like smoke with the fire, as that could have been just to ensure that he was ready to go and ready to be a student at OU and didn't have to go through the paperwork process or anything. It didn't mean anything from it. It could have been like the Dylan Gabriel situation where he had everything ready to go at UCLA and then switched over to Oklahoma with less than 24 hours to go. But regardless of all that, everyone was keeping tabs on is that was saying that OU was going to land Bowen, despite even a late run by Oregon at that point. It seemed like when that happened, it seemed like Notre Dame was kind of out of the running at that point. So last week, early signing day happened, aka Wednesday, rolls around. And when he goes live, you see him have a table with only a Notre Dame and an Oregon hat on the table. A lot of us were thinking it was going to be the standard hat, a pump and fake out, and that the OU hat was under the table. So he has his announcement, and surprised enough, he puts the Notre Dame hat on, tosses it aside, and picks up the Oregon hat and commits to Oregon, shocking everyone in the college football world, everyone, including myself, everyone, we thought that Oregon may have just swooped in at the very last minute and offered him basically a big sum of money or a giant bag. Like something had to convince him to do something to not go to the same school as his girlfriend. In a sense, at that point in time, it could not be said enough that the haters, very justified, did come out. Journalists were shocked, enough where people were starting to question the viability of recruiting websites, myself included. I already mentioned before that Brent was laying a foundation, but it was very shaky with a first-year rookie head coach, with his coaching mistakes with the 6-6 season, and getting then clowned on by your second five-star recruit is a horrible look, especially when it's almost back to back at that point. Um, Even at a post press conference, everyone said that Britt was like had that laugh of anger at this point that he could not believe that this happened. Again, journalists were shocked because again, everyone's going like outside of using these websites for keeping up with recruits, what's the point of them anymore? And a lot of journalists were like, I'm done. I'm done. I have to step away. Like they were very, very shocked. Regardless of what happened, though, I'll be honest. I didn't lose sleep over losing a recruit because yes, while the team is important, like they're gonna go where they want to go, and I went about my day, including like doing my live stream with Swiggy and Gavin because there was still a bunch to celebrate, especially OU having their highest rated class ever in our recorded history for it. However, things weren't done yet. Things were not settled because several hours passed, and it comes down to that Bowen has not signed his letter of intent with Oregon. Word got out like hours passed and everything. Obviously, we thought maybe he was just waiting a couple of hours, and it was a nothing burger to give OU fans hope, just like in the SEC shorts. Don't give me hope. Hope, get out of here. But it was probably like we thought also too. Maybe it was like a fax machine error, and that it was just waiting for the system to clear. Well, as the night kind of went on, it was not the case. And when Thursday rolled around, he still hadn't signed with Oregon, which, you know, Notre Dame fans were upset because they were led on for almost a year. OU fans were upset because obviously, like, we were the ones to land him. And then Oregon was upset because they hadn't gotten anything from him. Rumors started to fly about all over the place. For what I've seen online from it, there was the rumor that Bowen signed with Oregon to send a message to his parents that Oklahoma is the less of two evils to pick from since they want him to go to Notre Dame, and that he went to the extremes to ensure that he was going to go to Oklahoma. I've heard a rumor as well that Bowen was going to put on the OU hat, which was under the table. He got nervous and picked the other OU hat instead, or the UO hat. Got the colors mixed up. I know we're both Christmas colors, but we have covered wagons. They have ducks. I just don't understand. But regardless, I've also heard the conflicting report that the OU hat uh, was not under the table. I've heard so many different things at that point, but it also ties into that he told everyone like yes and was too disappointed. He didn't want to tell anybody no to disappoint them. But again, conflicting reports. I also heard the same thing that he wanted back on Notre Dame, and the coach said he had to ask the team, and that there was a unanimous no from the team after he ghosted them for it. Look, at the end of the day, that's all rumors. Maybe there's a truth to them, maybe not. It adds to some entertainment value of the story of Peyton Bowen's recruitment, especially this wild, crazy ride. There's other ones too as well, but I'll leave you to those. But end of the day, it's up to Bowen to share. If he shares at all, it's none of our business what really went down to change his mind. I know we want to add to the lore of it, especially if he pans out and becomes one of the greatest Sooners ever. But again, that's his story to tell for that. So back on track. Next day rolls around. It is indeed true that he did not sign his national letter of intent and that OU and Oregon were still in the trenches trying to get his signature. And then Brent, what a mad lad. Brent went down and got the signature because early Thursday morning he posted a photo of like the OU coin that looks like a poker chip that he's been giving out to recruits, as well as the corner of the NIL. Yep, Brent, to his credit, showing all the haters that yes, everything's gonna be fine. He was able to recruit, and probably is one of the best recruits we've had since Barry Switzer. Went down and got the commitment. And once that happened, OU just had a field day on their social media accounts. We saw OUs that were retweeting coaches with like, "Yeah, Brent's the man. That's my head coach," or his girlfriend like retweeting smiley faces, and then that was retweeted by the soccer team as well as retweeted with the OU football account. And even I don't know how this got past compliance, but even the main OU recruiting account was retweeting it. It was just became wild. And then by I think it was like 2:45 Central Time, he announced his commitment with an apology letter and everything that he didn't mean to lead people on. He could have done this a lot better, but he finally did commit to Oklahoma. The entire irony around it all is Bowen didn't want to make a big media deal out of this, but it became one of the most recent memory infamous signing day event as a result of the shenanigans that happened. But again, to his credit, he did own up to it with an apology on Twitter and basically wants to move forward from it. Like, yeah, we have to keep in mind this is a kid. It is a kid who's probably overwhelmed with the circumstances around him, making a very big life decision that will impact his life, his family, and his friends, and his teammates as well. So I know there's a lot of people that after that says like he's a head case, we don't want him anyway. Let's tap the brakes a bit, guys, and just put it in perspective. At the end of the day, it's a kid. It's a 17, 18-year-old person still developing. Let's tap the brakes. Give him a break. It's also his day. Obviously, he got nervous. So, but regardless, bigger picture, bigger circle. OU lands Peyton Bowen in a wild ride that for sure is going to go down, not only in OU lore just in general, but probably Venables' legacies as well, as it shows that Venables can recruit. He can close the deal and make sure that kids sign on the dotted line. As long as there's not a bag involved, like we saw with David Hicks in Texas A&M. But again, that's for a video for another day at this point, talk about Brent Venables and kind of the recruiting day and just the recruiting class overall. Overall, though, OU does land depending on where you look, the number 5, number 7 recruiting class from it, and ends on a very positive note before Christmas time at that point. So, like I said, I just wanted to record a video, give y'all kind of the lowdown for it, and kind of go see, just kind of celebrate kind of last time that Peyton Bowen is a Sooner before we move on to like kind of like recapping the signing day as well, because we have transfers still coming in. We still have the transfer portal and everything to wrap up before we also have to see the early enrollees and everything. So that's all I got, guys. So Boomer Sooner, everyone, I want you to all have a wonderful rest of your holidays, as we are post Christmas and we're kind of like last little bit of this week of 2022. I know 2022, what a wild year it's been since December of last year to now. Only has about less than a week left before we're in 2023. So again, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your holidays. I hope you have a very safe and happy new year, and I hope you have a very stay warm, because it is cold out, and we will have a preview video of the Cheez-It Bowl coming up this Thursday. So again, guys, remember, it's not over until they sign their name on the dotted line, meaning yes, we were in the running. Boomer Sooner, guys, only one Oklahoma.